Hey guys, welcome to Fearless Cooking, and thanks for joining me. I hope you're doing well during the whole COVID times, and it's getting a little weird in Texas right now, and it looks like it's getting a little weird in a lot of places. So, that's kind of my public service announcement on this stuff is just take this stuff serious. You don't have to completely freak out, but if you're going outside or you're going somewhere where you're going to be around people, put a mask on. Even if you think you're bulletproof, who knows, maybe you're going to help somebody else feel better. So anyway, today, that's enough of that. Today we're doing a whole fish. So the other day I was talking with Lindsay and Jason, and I said, hey, what would you like to cook, on one of the Fearless Cooking sessions? And Jason was like, how about a whole fish? And I was like, man, I've never cooked a whole fish before. But it's like kind of right here is where my son, Ethan, who's a chef, cooked. In fact, he cooked a red snapper. So I was like, hey, if you're going to call it Fearless Cooking, you might as well step up and do that stuff, right? So we're doing a whole snapper. I bought this just a few hours ago. And then let me go through kind of what else we're going to do, and then I'm going to go back to the way that this thing got prepped. So we're also doing asparagus, and I'm doing sweet potatoes, and I'm going to do those in the air fryer. We'll cook this. I'll saute the asparagus here on the handy little portable burner that we'll put here to cook on. But first thing I want to do is get the fish in the ovens, because this is so big, it'll probably take longer than that 17 minutes that I put in the instructions. My guess is this one's going to be 20, maybe 30 minutes, but we'll kind of check it as it goes along. So when I got the fish today, it was except for the fact that it was dead, it had all of its parts, right? It was, it hadn't been gutted, hadn't been gilled or scaled. So I got it at Central Market. The guy said, do you want me to prep it? I was like, sure. So he gutted it, cleaned out all the inside. He cut the gills out of it, and then he scaled it. And so most places, if they've got somebody that's a staffed counter, they're kind of equipped to do that. So don't hesitate to ask them. And one of the things that you want to look for is this thing doesn't smell fishy. Okay, if you get one and if something is just reeking, it's been hanging around too long. The other thing is that the eyes are real clear. Okay, they're not cloudy, which also is a sign of freshness with the fish. So anyway, we've got the fish. What I'm going to do real quick with it is I'm going to dry it off. I'm just going to use a couple of paper towels. I'm just going to dry the outside.
And he washed it there a lot.
Yeah, and then I rinsed it off here whenever I pulled it out. But yeah, this thing has been, scrubbed and worked over a little bit. All right, so now we got that done, and I guess I should, it's like I was watching somebody the other day. She was like the food writer for the New York Times, and I was watching her. She didn't wash her hands hardly any. She would be handling fish and then handling, salt and pepper shaker. I'm like, as long as it's raw protein, I don't necessarily want to get, stuff on other food. Yes. That's just my weirdness. Okay, so here's what else we're going to do. I'm going to score the outside of this, like probably about 3 places. And it's just, there we go. And I think that's to get just very, very shallow.
Okay.
Okay, it literally is just a score.
Okay.
One more. Okay. Now then, I'm just doing that side, and then I'm going to cut the lemon into wedges.
What other things do you have ready? So we need to have lemon with it?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut lemon into rounds. We're going to line the inside of it with that. I actually, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with some olive oil. I'll put the stuff on the inside, and then I will salt and pepper it.
And what stuff? Let us know what you have.
Yeah,
there.
So I've got 2 cloves of garlic that I'm going to smash and mince. I've got a lemon that I'm going to cut into slices. I've got rosemary, and I've got thyme, and I'm just going to pull a few sprigs out of the thyme.
Okay.
Okay, and the reason I left it in this is because this is how I store herbs now. And what I've found out with it is these have been in there now for I don't know how many days, and they're still like as fresh as when I got them. So it's a great way to get herbs to last a little longer.
Are they sitting in water?
Yeah,
okay.
I filled it up about this much with water.
Okay.
And
then
I
you
just
put a plastic over it.
keep a plastic and then stick it in the fridge.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to hit this with a little olive oil, and I'm just going to pour it on the outside, and we're just going to rub it around on there. You could use a brush, and yeah, probably wouldn't be a horrible idea with fish fins. You definitely want to go with them and not against them, because they will poke you. I'm going to turn it over. All right, now I'm not going to wash my hands this time. I'll just use the plastic towel.
So you're probably pouring about a tablespoon, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, probably. And then, you can brush it on, but.
And you're putting some on the inside?
Yeah.
Okay. About the same amount?
No, just a
little bit less?
Yeah, just a little
okay.
less. I'm just gonna, and there's bones inside there that can be sharp, so just kind of be careful. Yeah. It wouldn't be a bad idea to use a brush. I've got one right here, but I just chose not to use it. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to turn it back over. All right, and then I am going to wash my hands before I grab the quick rinse, before I grab the salt and pepper. And I said I was going to use the grinder, but to get on the inside with this, I think I want to use so this is just kosher salt. Okay. On the inside.
Pretty good pinch there on the inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
on the outside as well, or no?
Yeah, what I've got is I've got some. Yeah, here we go.
What is this?
This is cracked black pepper.
Okay.
It's just easier to maneuver inside using one hand. Okay, put it on the outside. And what I kept seeing over and over was, don't be bashful when it comes to the salt or the pepper, because what they're saying is that, hey, this stuff, you're really trying to get seasoning in, and it's it will tolerate a lot. So all right, now then I've got that seasoned on the outside. I'm going to move this out of the way to chop this stuff, and I'll put it back over here. So, and all I'm going to do with the garlic is just put a knife on there and then just kind of smash it down. That's the easiest way I found to get the outside off of the garlic. If this is easy, right? I didn't smash it super hard. I've done that before and shot the garlic across the room, so I figured I don't want to do that this time. All right, got that. We'll do the other one and then we'll mince it real quick. Or actually, I'm just going to slice it, not mince it.
Okay.
And with the thing about kind of what to put in the fish, it really kind of depends on what flavors you're interested in that day. You can kind of have it take more of like an Asian approach, so that you might use soy sauce and or some fish. I guess fish sauce might be redundant, but some like lemongrass and ginger and peppers, like jalapenos or Thai peppers.
Okay,
so all I'm doing right now is just slicing the garlic, and I'm going to put that inside the fish. All right, I'm just going to move this over here to
Yeah, lemon and garlic go so well together with the fish. That's another nice.
Yeah. And then like another like flavor approach that this one person was talking about was like take it more in a like Mexican approach with like lime and chilies and yeah. So it's like, you know, I think it is this and I'm just slicing the lemon.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna like slice the whole thing. We're just gonna layer it in there.
Okay.
You know, it's one of these things that's kind of a blank canvas. You kind of can add to it what you want.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think chocolate chips would go well with it, but you know, if that was kind of what your mood was that day, I guess you could give it a try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna put garlic on the inside. I don't want to, like, this thing has already hit the ground once. I don't want to do it twice. All right, got the garlic in there. And we're gonna add, and I'm gonna just make sure it's kind of spread around. I want to add the lemons.
So the lemons are inside as well?
Yeah, well, that's where we're gonna put them. We're gonna put them all on the inside.
Okay. And why did you score it? What is that for?
You know, that's a good question. I think it's so that the flavor of everything can kind of get inside. I don't know. It's like I saw multiple people do it, and I was
what
like,
are you putting in?
I'm putting the rosemary in.
Okay.
And now I'm going to grab some of the thyme.
But how much are you?
I'll show you.
Okay. Good.
Once I get it. All right. So I've got, you know, there's probably I'll put hell, we'll put it all in there. So I'm going to put, you know, what is that? That's about 7 or 8 thyme sprigs.
Okay.
We're just going to stuff that in there. All right, so now then we've got the outside, we've got inside. Oh, we got one sticking out through the. All right, we're gonna leave it like that. We've got salt and pepper on the outside. We've had olive oil on it. It looks like a bomb hit over here. And this is going to go in the oven. The oven's set at 450, and we're going to set the timer for 17 minutes.
17 minutes? I can do that for you. And what temperature are you going to, I mean, how will you know it's done?
So I'm going to check it. What I want is about 135 on the temperature.
Okay.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, kind of clean up my area just a little bit.
Good idea about it.
Yeah, just
Fish stuff.
Well, for the fish stuff, but also it's like, you know, that's one of the things that I got from, I think it was somebody that had worked with Thomas Keller, and they're like, he is, you know, just kind of adamant going, hey, regardless of how busy you get, kind of keep the area where it's organized, so that way your brain doesn't get like your work area. And I think that is applicable for home cooks as well as folks in a restaurant. It just makes it a little bit easier to kind of figure out where you are.
Are you going to be using the time again?
No, and I'm just going to move it out of the way, but I'm not going to go through the whole process. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I've already washed the potatoes. I'm just going to slice these to get them ready for the air fryer. So I'm just going to take the knife, and since I'm cooking the potatoes, I'm not worried about that I've used the knife on the fish. If I was, you know, doing something that was going to be raw, I would worry about that. Or if it was, you know, chicken or pork, I'd worry about it more.
So you're cutting them.
Yeah. And then what depending on how thick these end up. Yeah, so I'll probably take these and cut them one more time. So we're making them kind of like French fries.
Sweet potato fries.
Yeah. And then we'll hit them with some olive oil.
And you didn't peel these, did you?
No, I never peel potatoes when I cook them. Yeah, you know, it's not to say you can't. I just, you know, and it's funny because I used to always, you know, really not think about eating the peel on sweet potatoes, but it's like I kind of don't like it. And then we'll get this done, and then we'll trim the asparagus. We'll have that out of the way. So this is.
So if you didn't put the sweet potatoes in the fryer, how else might you?
Well, I mean, you could,
Air
yeah, you could put them on a sheet tray and put them in the oven with the fish. If you were going to do that, I would say probably put them in about the same time as the fish.
Okay.
You know, I feel like that I need to get like an endorsement deal with Cuisinart, because I was one of those people that it's like everybody was raving about the air fryer, and I was the same way with it that I was with the Instapot. I was a holdout. And then once I got one, I loved it because what I realized is, okay, these will be ready in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So it just really makes it easy to cook kind of multiple things at once. The vegetables turn out, you know, nice and crispy, and it's an easy way to do it.
Yeah.
So I haven't opened the wine yet. I'm going to do that in a second. I'm drinking Element right now. It's LMNT. I do more or less a keto diet, kind of a low carb diet. And what I found is if I drink that stuff, I don't have to worry about the whole keto flu that people complain about. It's a great way to know that your electrolytes are kind of dialed in. If you're not doing low carb, I wouldn't be a big proponent of it. But you know, if you're doing stuff where you're like shedding water, which is what happens whenever you do keto, then I think it's a great way to make sure that your lights are dialed in.
Okay, what are you doing now?
Okay, I'm putting olive oil on the fries.
Okay.
All right, and I'm gonna hit those with some salt and pepper, and I'm just gonna sit them in that. I'm not gonna start, well, actually I will start it. Okay, so I'm hitting them with some cracked pepper. With fries, with the sweet potatoes, we do these all different ways. I mean, sometimes I'll put paprika on them. Sometimes I'll put
Garam masala.
garam masala is a good one. Yeah, I mean, it's like, once again, kind of what are you in the mood for that day? And I just move this out of the way so that it doesn't melt to the.
That would not be good.
No, it would also smell really bad.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get this out of the way, and then I'm going to open this wine. Oh, well, looks like we have some. So these are like, this is day old potatoes. So I guess we'll rinse this out. So it's a good thing. So one of the aspects of fearless cooking is that you're ready for kind of what kind of weird shit comes along. And, you know, sometimes that means that you start to preheat your oven and it's like, what's that smell? Oh, that's the kale that we forgot to take out of the oven. Well, this time it's the sweet potatoes, or it's the potatoes from yesterday.
Okay.
All right, so now then, it's, you know, it's, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. All right, I'm gonna put that here. Now, if that was a, you know, a bunch of steak left over, which we've certainly done once, you know, it's like that really hurts your feelings.
Yeah.
All right.
So just to give you a heads up, you've got about 10-ish minutes.
Perfect.
On the.
All right. I'm gonna move this, get these in there. Yeah, I've got a real strong suspicion that that's not going to be ready.
Yeah.
All right. So we're just going to put it on for 10. I'm going to have a glass of wine. So this is some stuff. This is this Wahoo River. It's a Sauvignon Blanc. It's from New Zealand. I think I've had this before. It was pretty tasty. It was like real kind of crisp, which, you know, Austin.
The fish.
Yeah, it goes great with the fish. It also goes great with the weather in Austin right now because, you know, I think that we're probably in the upper 90s, but it's like feels way over 100. I like that. It's good. All right, so now I'm going to get this prepped, this asparagus. I've already washed it, and you know, I'm just going to snap the ends. Because, you know, I've read people say, oh, it doesn't make any difference. For me, it does because,
I don't like those.
yeah, it's like,
Especially the larger asparagus.
Especially, yeah. There's a couple here that are a little wonky on the end, but I think those will be okay. Asparagus can get like sideways in a hurry, especially the tips. I like Costco for just about everything, but I've gotten to where I don't buy asparagus from them usually because it comes kind of in this plastic, sealed plastic bag, and though I think that has more of a tendency to go bad.
And what are you going to do with it after you've cooked it this way?
So I'm just going to hit it in the skillet real quick. So we'll get that. Actually, yeah, like I said, I don't think that the fish is going to be ready in 17 minutes, but it might be. We'll see. All right. So one of the things that I realized is that a lot of stuff on Fearless Cooking, we're cooking with a recipe. And that's not how I cook, right? And I thought it might be helpful just to show, what are some kind of what do I do when I'm not like working on a recipe or working off of one? Because a lot of times I'll just throw stuff together. Most of the time that is what I do. And I realized that the Paleo Solution was kind of the book that started this whole thing for me. It's a book, Robb Wolf's the guy that wrote it. And basically he just kind of looked at all the health issues he was facing, on a lot of other people were facing, and saying, all right, how did we evolve eating? And it basically it kind of informed how I approach food, which is eat real food. And like it caused me to kind of abandon this heart healthy whole grain fascination that I had for years. And I found out that when I found out I had heart disease, I realized heart healthy was not necessarily something I was getting from the grains. So my whole approach now is like, it's a lot lower carb, and it also is like mainly meat and vegetables, kind of what we're doing here today. Now, how much time do we have? 7 minutes. All right, well, so we're good there. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and we'll talk about the other ones in a minute. Let's go ahead and get the asparagus going, just in case the fish surprises us and it's ready. So I'm going to get this lid. I'm going to get this lid.
Uh-oh, is that going to help?
It might be. It's like it would be perfect if it was, right? Actually, let's go find another. I'll go grab a lighter. I'll be right back.
Oh my. Here.
Excellent. Let's do this.
Matches? There's matches in there too.
Yes, sir?
Yeah.
Ah, sure enough.
We have them there just in case.
See, I was going to catch a paper towel on fire and
No,
do it that
I
way.
think this is the better way to go. Yeah, that's good.
All right.
All right.
Not as dramatic as catching a paper towel on fire, but pretty effective. Okay.
So I can imagine with that fish, there's several vegetables that you could prepare even in a similar way that would still taste.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so snow peas would be great with it. Kale, green beans would be great. I don't know, like, kale will be okay. Like a real sulfurous thing with the fish is not what immediately comes to mind with me. But yeah, it's weird. I really default to asparagus with fish, and I don't know why that is. Spinach would actually be good.
Yeah. Okay, so what did you just do?
I just hit some olive oil in there. I'm gonna let it get this kind of warmed up, and then I'm gonna toss this in there, and I will hit it with a little bit of salt and some pepper.
Is that other lemon just there for decoration?
I may squeeze some of the juice from it on the fish when the fish is done.
Okay.
Yeah. And where's my wine? Here it is. So the other book that's here, that's on the top, is Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. And I'll have to say, that Sami Nosrat, who's the author of that book, her and Kenji Lopez-Alt, who's the author of the Food Lab that's on the bottom, have probably done more to kind of change my approach to cooking than anything else. And part of what that was based around was I never used acid in anything I cooked. You know, I mean, I would do it like if you have spaghetti sauce, that's an acid. But I would never, the idea of adding like a squirt of lemon to asparagus, I wouldn't have really thought about it. I mean, it's like I've eaten it before that way, but I never thought about acid as being kind of almost as essential as salt in the preparation of a meal. And what I encourage people to do as you start cooking is to play with your food. And by that I mean, like, have some lemon or some lime and some salt and some different kind of foods that have salt in them, like capers or olives, and add that and see how you like the taste. Because it is, you know, I really believe in the kind of the adage that life's too short to eat boring food. And I think you will really up your cooking game if you start experimenting with it. Judy and I were talking about earlier, you know, when I mow the yard, I don't really think too much about how do I improve my yard mowing. I mean, every once in a while, which is, I'll just confess to being weird, but for the most part with food, every time I'm eating something, I'm like, okay, what am I tasting? And is there anything I would like to do with this next time? And I think it's great if you can approach it that way. Because, you know, it's like, if you don't, then what happens is people get into this deal where they're like, yeah, you know, my food's kind of boring. And, you know, it's like it doesn't need to be. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I'm going to put a little bit of lemon juice on this as it gets close to the end.
So what are you looking for with the asparagus?
What I'm looking for is just the color to kind of change. I want it to darken up just a little bit. And I know that, like, as it is right now, it's going to be too crunchy. And I don't like the super limp asparagus, but I also don't want it to where it, you know, it's like it's just basically been blanched. So this will keep going with it for a minute. The one that's in the middle, the book that's in the middle is a book called The Flavor Bible. And what I do with that thing is, like, if I have something like I got eggplant, and so one of the things I'll do is I'll look in there and I'll look up eggplant, and it will tell me all the different flavors that work well with eggplant. So instead of having to like rely on a recipe, it'll just give me some ideas of, okay, here are some flavors that would play well with that. Now, one of the things I'm going to do with this, just so that I don't, I'm going to put just a touch of wine in there.
So you've got 1 minute left on your fish.
Okay, perfect.
FYI. I wonder how Lindsay and Jason's fish is going.
Huh?
I wonder how Lindsay and Jason's fish cooking is going.
I bet it's cooking quicker because I think their fish was smaller. All right. And then I think the thing I'm going to do with this too, I'm going to hit it with just a little bit of butter.
Give a little of that fat.
Yeah. It's got olive oil in it, but. And, you know, this is just, this is goat's milk butter, but toss that in there. And it'll kind of up the game of that a little bit.
Okay, camera's
Perfect. All right, so let's see what that's looking like. That'll be fine. bet it's going to need a little bit more time. Let's see. Yeah, 113.
And you're looking for
I want
130,
about 135.
okay?
That's 122, 118 there. Yeah, so let's put it in for about another 7 or 8 minutes.
Okay, what would you like, 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Leave that there. Okay. We're just going to let this kind of finish that cooking down.
All right.
Yeah.
You just put it on low?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've just got the butter in there kind of melting down, making a sauce. We'll taste it in just a second. I bet it'll need just a touch more lime.
A lemon.
Yeah, it's lemon, I'm sorry. So those, to me, those 3 books are kind of great things to have in your kind of kitchen arsenal. And it's not something necessarily that you're going to use every day. But like one of the things that I've learned going through Kenji Lopez Dalton, the Food Lab, is that he changed the way that I approach cooking chicken. Because for the longest time, I used to hate chicken breasts. Because every time I would eat them, they would be this stringy, like dry mess. Look at that, that's perfect timing there. All right, so these are about ready. I'm gonna put this down to a real low simmer. Actually, I tell you what, I'm just gonna let them coast for a little while. Because they're pretty, I think they're pretty close to done. So this will
I
be.
don't know that any lemon was. Oh,
Yeah, I put a little bit.
Oh, you did? I don't remember seeing any.
Actually, you know what? Maybe I didn't. Maybe I just cut it. Let's just see.
So I wonder how our other chefs are doing.
Yeah, so Lindsay, Jason, how is y'all's going? Huh. All right.
How's the fish happening?
Ours is underway.
All right. So
Not ready yet?
Nope, not quite yet. It's been in the oven. It looks happy, but not quite yet.
okay. All right. Good. So Lindsay, you actually started cooking like seriously before I did because of the work that you did in the kitchens and stuff. What kind of, like on an average day, what does cooking look like for you?
Similar to what you said, I don't necessarily go from recipes. So I kind of see how the day goes and what we're craving. And, you know, now that we actually have Whole Foods in Castle Rock close by to us, we are cooking, or we're getting stuff at the store like every other day versus having one large grocery trip and kind of having set meals. So it's kind of fun because we're letting whatever looks fresh kind of inspire us for the day.
Okay.
And so, you know, especially I'm out in Colorado, so the summertime is a really great time for us to take advantage of the produce that we do get that looks really nice. And then having access to a decent seafood counter is a nice change for us. So that's been fun. Yeah. So, you know, whatever inspires me when I go to the store typically is kind of how I'll start my meal, and then I build around from that.
Okay. See, so what you're describing is kind of how I cooked more pre-COVID. Because with COVID, one of the things is I've tried to do is limit my trips to the grocery store. And I'll have to admit, they've been going up recently, which is, I think, a little bit of that kind of COVID complacency that is happening. But it's like you a long time ago, you impressed me with your like food prep that you would do for the week, right? Like you would blanch vegetables, you would have some stuff ready to go so that your meals were a lot quicker to put together. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, in fact, the asparagus that we're having with our fish was some that we had blanched like 2 days ago or 3 days ago.
Okay.
You know, similar to you, I'm on a pretty low carb diet right now. And so I personally love to have blanched green vegetables in the fridge. That's sort of like my go-to whenever I'm building a salad, is to start with greens and then throw on, you know, some blanched green vegetables. Or I like to grab that as a snack too. So it's just, for me anyway, it's easy and it's great to have on hand.
Okay. Okay.
I imagine you could even like warm them up and add a little fat or acid to them to add some kind of flavor like butter or whatever if you wanted. But they're already
Yeah,
cooked,
yeah,
so-
we do that too with when we're heating up like leftover meat and stuff. If we have blanched green beans, we'll, you know, throw that in the microwave and then add some olive oil
yeah.
right before we serve it. So
Yeah.
that's always, yeah, it's just, I find it, like Jude mentioned, it's versatile. It's just nice and easy to have because you can have it cold or hot.
Yeah.
What about you, Jason? Go-to stuff?
No, that's pretty much it.
So when you just keep saying the leftover protein, it's like, you know, one of the things that has become kind of a standard for me now is like, I try on Saturdays to fire the egg up and cook a bunch of protein, and then I've got protein for a big chunk of the week. And if I'm really being smart about it, I'll go ahead and vacuum seal some of it and freeze it. So then, you know, if I'm at a point where it's like, you know, I don't want to cook or there's not time to cook, I've already got something that I've already done the heavy lifting on. Are you guys, so when you're like doing protein, how many days worth do you typically cook at one time?
Well, in an ideal world, exactly what you said, we cook extra protein so we can eat on it for a little while. I'd say that doesn't always happen, unfortunately. But like, you know, it's great when you can start the week and do that. Last week we were kind of backwards, and I got a bunch of stuff to make tacos, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to do ground beef or chicken or fish. And so I just did all of the above. And it was fantastic because we had fish, ground beef, chicken for the next 3 days, actually 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And we were kind of tired on Friday and we're tempted to go out to eat, and then, you know, thought for a second and said, why would we do that? We have better food here than we could get going out to eat. So we just ate some of our leftover protein that I had made for tacos. So that was kind of nice to have.
Yeah. You know, it's like the weeks that I do that, meals are just so much easier. And like you said, most of the time, if you're using good ingredients at home, you're like, I cooked ribs yesterday. It's like, I know Franklin's a god, but you know, I'll kind of think mine are probably in the same league as his. You know, I know that's going to shock a lot of people.
Yeah, you better be careful. I wouldn't go like tweeting that or anything.
Well, I don't know. You know, that might be a, you know, one of those beat Bobby Flay things.
That's exactly what it's hearing. Awesome.
Yeah. So let's see what this is like now. Yep, 135. I think we're right there. 138.
Just
Yep,
bring it
we're
over
done.
so we can see it. We want to see what this looks like.
Well,
What?
his eyes are a little disturbing now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he needs to see an optometrist. Yeah. The edge of a 450, whenever you have something in an oven and it's 450 degrees,
Yeah.
whenever you take it out, it's very hot.
Yeah.
And it will leave a mark.
So how are you going to serve this? What's the plan? This looks so yummy.
I think the plan is going to be with a fork. Let's see. It's a little hot to grab it with my
Yeah.
fingers right now.
You're actually going to taste it right now.
I am. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Actually, first I'm gonna,
Okay. Put a little lemon on it.
yeah, I think it needs,
Is yours done, Lindsay and Jason? They're on mute again. I bet they're getting theirs out.
Sorry, what'd you say? We were
Is yours
looking at our,
Oh, and how's yours?
I think it's just about there. We didn't quite have our oven as hot as 450. It tends to burn our stuff when we do it that high.
Okay.
But we have ours on convection too, so
Yeah, and the one thing is, you
Watch the
definitely have to watch for the bones, but man, that's good. Okay. I understand now the appeal that this has for everybody, because it's about as fresh as you can get.
Yeah.
And, this will feed Jude and me probably like at least a meal and a half.
Yeah.
So we got, let's take a look at this potatoes. And I think it'll be a good idea. I won't leave them in there. Yep. Yeah. So they, they're nice and kind of like crispy on the top. But they are delicious. I'm going to put them over here. So guys, I will assemble this. Actually, you won't. We'll probably just come in here and graze later. So I appreciate you joining me today. The one thing I hope that's the takeaway today is play with your food, right? Figure out what you like and experiment. And it's like, okay, I already am kind of thinking about, all right, the next time I do this, I'm not going to do it with the thyme and the rosemary. I'm going to try different herbs and kind of take it a different direction, just so that I can always be going, okay, what's the real sweet spot? Same thing with asparagus, and we try to figure out some different stuff to do with the sweet potatoes, so that you don't get bored with the stuff that you're eating. So have a great week. Stay safe, and I will see you guys back. I'll see you the middle of August for the Fearless Cooking, but I'm going to start putting like some videos to both the Fearless Cooking site as well as to abalancedview.com. So look forward to talking to you guys soon. Thanks a lot.